Hi, good morning everyone. It's lovely to be in Busan today, this time of the year, but the weather is great. My name is Lakhjit and I'm with Glander International Bunkering. I'd like to take this opportunity right now to thank Kevin and Andrew, and nice to see you again, Jim, for the opportunity to come up here and present my case. Just a short background as to who we are. Okay, we have come a long way. We have been established in the US, primarily in New York in 1961, but through M&As and different acquisitions, we have grown over the years. We have 9 offices worldwide. We have a focus on new fuels, which is the case moving forward, primarily in decarbonizing the shipping industry. We would like to think we're the industry leader, delivering reliable and quality fuels. And obviously, the price point is always an issue with clients. So we try to remain competitive where it matters. These are our offices worldwide. We basically have offices in Florida to Dubai, which is our HQ, and I'm sitting in the Singapore office. So the key things that we face day to day would be on advisory and risk management. We constantly have to manage people's expectations in terms of their OPEX for their fuel supply. So everyone has a budget or voyage estimation or budget really from point to point. And that's where we come in to manage that risk on the price point. And also quality concerns. We also ensure that everything is compliant. We reach the right emission standing with the EU emissions trading system, ECAs, local port requirements, and IMO 2030, 2050 goals. Apart from that, we have a very rigid, stringent sanction sort of checklist as well. So there's a lot of, globally, there's a lot of tanker trades that are happening out of Russia and people sitting out of Dubai. So we kind of monitor that quite closely, and we ensure that we are fully compliant when moving these fuels as well. And as we know, the market is inherently expensive at this point of time, and fuels are on the rise. So we have a lot of credit seekers, and since we are in a good position financially to assist our clients, we are capable, and we ensure that we are able to help in their cash flow management as well. And this is going to be more the case when the transition of alternative fuels kick in. So that's going to be a higher price point as well. So just quickly, these are the host of services that we do. Strong supply network, onshore, offshore expertise. We own tankers as well. It's highly competitive pricing, lab testing, surveys, etc. Okay, this is really where I'd like to start the entire presentation, the crux of it all. So primarily, we are dealing with, on a day-to-day basis on MGO, VLSFO, but obviously in the decarb market, we are facing LNG, biofuels, methanol, LPG, hydrogen, ammonia, and so forth, carbon markets as well. So I'm just going to touch base on VLSFO and MGO, since that's our day-to-day sort of primary market. So for the VLSFO market, it takes up the bulk of what we do. I'm also part of the offshore desk, so we have a lot of interest in, still on the MGO side of things. We have not really had any transition out of MGO. The only transition that we had faced in the offshore segment would be on biofuels, and that's primarily because Pertamina in Indonesia has a regulatory concern in using B35. So that's about FAME content that's over there. So that's our engagement in terms of the MGO side of things. So what exactly is LNG? So LNG is basically natural pipeline gas, and it's super cool to minus 162 degrees. It has 600 times the energy density of pipeline gas. So we need to ask the question, is LNG green fuel? It has basically a total reduction of SOx, significant reductions in particulate matter and NOx. There's between 8 to 23% of CO2, saving on a full life cycle basis depending on the engine technology being used. So what are the main safety considerations in terms of using LNG? LNG has a low flash point fuel. It's a cryogenic product. It has appropriate PPE and application of standard bunker guidelines, which is essential. And how is it burned on board? LNG needs to be returned to its gaseous form to be used. Engine must be designed or specifically adopted to use LNG. The engines come in both pure gas, only LNG, and dual fuel, LNG and conventional fuels. So basically, where can we get this product from? Basically, it comes out of Europe, North America, and much of Asia. It comes from the benefit from a well-developed network. LNG as a bunker fuel is expected to be available in Panama, Middle East, and the US West Coast by around 2025. How is LNG priced compared to conventional fuel? I think this is a key concern. LNG can be sold on an oil index basis or priced at a defined premium over pipeline gas. Natural gas prices vary significantly around the world, and regional LNG pricing strongly reflects this. I think everyone can see that this is the case right now. And bunkering happens from ship to ship, truck to ship, shore, pipeline to ship as well. So what's the LNG bunker uptake? The uptake in orders for dual fuel LNG-powered vessels has continued throughout 2022 and 2023, accumulating by mid-2023 to 400 plus ships in operation and an additional 520 plus in the order book. That's significant. Natural gas prices have been exceptionally high in Europe and Asia in 2022, resulting in LNG becoming temporarily uncompetitive against conventional marine fuels. Since mid-2023, LNG became back again cost impact competitive and commercially viable in Europe and Asia. So for the LNG bunker demand growth in terms of segmentation of asset classes, we can see a huge growth in the container market. Today, there are 55 vessels in operation. By 2026, there will be 197. The next segment would be the tanker market. The tanker segment, there are 107 vessels today in operation, and there'll be 84 more that's coming online. For car carriers, there are 13 today, and in 2026, there'll be 128 more. So that's quite a big surge. The lowest surge would be the cruise liners. Obviously, there's lower demographic in terms of the supply side or the number of operators. So there are 17 today, and there'll be 22 in 2026. And the bulker segment is 29 today, and there'll be 44 more in 2026. So the associated growth in terms of potential LNG bunker demand in terms of tons, the highest evidently would come from the container market. There'll be 4 million tons of LNG being used, over 4 million tons of LNG being used by 2026. So there's going to be a huge demand going forward. There's going to be a lot of regulatory aspects that's going to take shape moving forward as well. And obviously the logistics and supply chain networks as well that's going to come into play. Okay, so that's as much for LNG. I'm just going to tap on a little bit more on biofuels. Okay, so biofuels are a drop-in fuel. that can replace gas oil and fuel oil. It looks like and behaves like gas oil. It's produced from sustainable feedstocks, categorized into first, second, and third generation. The second and third generation biofuels are produced from waste, and residue are all classed as sustainable. Currently, the most viable and sustainable biofuels for use in the maritime industry are fatty acid, methyl ester, which is FAME, which I mentioned earlier, FAME biodiesel, and hydro-treated vegetable oil, HVO. Biofuels from certain feedstocks are considered renewable and give immediate emission reductions based on the well-to-wake LCA principle. So, is biofuel an established marine fuel today? It is becoming available in more locations. The second generation feedstocks allow 80 to 95% CO2 reductions and is the most promising option. The third generation feedstocks allow greater than 80% in terms of greenhouse gases savings, which is expected to be increasingly available in upcoming years. Most first generation feedstocks allow 45 to 55 greenhouse gas reductions, such as soybean or palm oil. As I mentioned earlier, my day-to-day interaction and our office interaction with the OSV market, the offshore market, is primarily in Indonesia, and that's where the B35 component comes from. So what are the main safety considerations? FAME standard specs meet EN 14214. The HVO standard specs meet the EN 15940. The HVO chemically is identical to petroleum diesel. It's stored same as tanks and pipes as traditional fuels. The FAME storage is 10 degrees above cloud point. All right, and how's the price compared to conventional fuel? It's totally dependent on feedstock and regulatory frameworks, but it's going to be an all-time high, as we can tell even from Indonesia on the price point. Yeah, so moving forward, I'm just going to cover a little bit more on methanol. So what is methanol? It's a liquid fuel similar to conventional fuel. To handle, it's the simplest form of alcohol with the most favorable hydrogen to carbon ratio. The energy density is just under half, which is that of conventional marine fuels. Is methanol a green fuel? When produced from fossil fuels, methanol has little or to no environmental benefit over conventional fuels. The green methanol can be produced from both bio-waste and renewable energy with biogenic carbon capture. Green methanol has the potential to reduce full life cycle emissions by up to 99% for e-methanol and 70% plus for biomethanol. The reduction in NOx emissions will be from 30 to 60%, and there will be significant reduction in particulate matter. So where can we get methanol from? It's globally traded, but not widely available at the moment. It's only in small parcels for bunkering. We haven't seen much players in this space, although it's clearly on the rise in time to come. There are dedicated supply chains developing in Northwest Europe at the moment, may be offered at methanol production and terminals worldwide in the near future. Okay, so how does methanol prices compare to conventional fuels? Fossil fuel methanol prices in a similar range to, it's in a similar price bracket to MGO, but it takes 2 tons of methanol to replace 1 ton equivalent of VLSFO and MGO. So you're going to use more product. Green methanol prices are at a premium to conventional marine fuels or an equivalent basis of 1 ton of VLSFO or MGO equals to 2 tons of green methanol. However, the overall greenhouse gases reductions from green methanol could deliver 65% to 80% reduction of overall emissions. At the moment, we have 25 vessels in operation today. It's likely that it's going to reach 71 vessels in operation by 2026. Now, moving forward, these are the least adopted fuels at the moment, so I'm just going to run through that really quickly. So for LPG, there are many good reasons to use LPG as a marine fuel or other ship types other than LPG carriers. LPG is a sulfur-free product which makes compliance to emission regulations easy by nature. Currently, it's a consideration at this point of time, strictly. Hydrogen is sustainable and an inexhaustible energy source. It's also the cleanest fuel. When it is consumed as a fuel cell or in a monofuel internal combustion engine, it has the potential to be a zero carbon marine fuel. Now, last but not least, we'd like to tap on the carbon markets that we are trading as well. There are 2 points in terms of the carbon markets. There's a voluntary market and there's a mandatory market. So for the voluntary market, carbon credits are purchased voluntarily to achieve optional sustainable goals. Companies are making net zero carbon commitments as we speak. It's in the interest of a cargo owner who wants to reduce emissions from their maritime transportation, basically has 2 options. One is offsetting and the other is insetting. I wouldn't go into the whole demographics of this because it's quite in-depth. So if anyone would like to reach me later to talk about it, I'm happy to do so. Now, more on the mandatory markets, carbon markets. Carbon credits are purchased to comply with regulatory carbon reduction requirements, such as the EU ETS. I think most of us will know how it works, but I'm just going to briefly go through that, how the EU ETS works. By putting a price on emissions, it incentivizes companies to adopt new fuels and operational processes that reduce emissions. The EU ETS operates a cap and trade system, which sets a limit on emissions. Each year, a limited amount of EU allowances, or EUAs as otherwise known, is made available for trading in the market. Each EUA gives companies the right to emit greenhouse gases equivalent to 1 ton of CO2. Companies will be required to hold sufficient EUAs for their annual fleet emissions and surrender these allowances to the authorities each year. So these are some of our initiatives. We have a green fuels team, which has just been formed 2 months ago. We have short to mid-term new fuels and increased access in biofuels and LNG, which I mentioned in key markets. We are forming new long-term fuels and partnerships, which I'll just quickly elaborate on later. It's a voluntary carbon market, which is mentioned, and mandatory as well. This is just a complete summary, grand summary of what is available. So as you can see, the VLSFO and MGO. MGO is not listed, but it's evidently very available. And LNG and biofuel is clearly available, these 3. On the price point, LNG is high, and so is VLSFO. It's pretty high at this moment as well. So the remaining 3 is not really priced that much or known for the commercial readiness. So just briefly, so for the near future, it's going to be conventional fuels and MGO and VLSFO. In the midterm, it's going to be LNG and biofuels. And there'll be uptake of well-to-wake near carbon neutral fuels in the near future. So as you can see, that this is where we are in 2023. VLSFO, LNG in the short term, biofuel, biomethane. And 2030, low carbon methanol, ammonia will kick in the midterm. Methane, new bio-based fuels, and the long term will be e-hydrogen, hopefully by 2050. So very quickly, this is our well-to-wake concept. So from raw material, fuel production, transportation, and storage, and then it goes to bunkering. That's the well-to-tank. Go-to-tank is for storage. So tank-to-wake, storage on board, energy conversion, and then that's where you burn it. Energy transfer to propeller. This is basically regulatory concerns. The CII, Fuel, EU Maritime, EU ETS. If anyone would like to have a chat with me later, I'll be more than happy to. This is our partnership with Ecoria. So it's meant to reduce NOx emissions. That's critical to make a positive impact in the environment and ensure that we are compliant with all operational concerns moving forward. We are associated with some of these, with the Emirates Shipping Association, IBIA as well, and ASBA, which is based in the US. This is our corporate governance, greater transparency, whistleblower policy, and obviously anti-corruption. These are some of the certifications, Trade Certified, DNV, ISCC, and so forth. Yeah. So I'd like to thank all of you for your time and attention as well. And should you have any questions, feel free to ask me later. Thank you so much and have a nice day.